Have you ever been in a room so beautiful, it made you feel invisible? At Crystal Haven, Miami's crown jewel of luxury, everything sparkled. From the gold chandeliers that floated like constellations to the marble floors that whispered elegance with every footstep, the place felt like it belonged to another world. A world of soft jazz, five-star menus, and whispered last names of people who own cities. And somewhere in that world, moved a young black woman in a black and white server uniform, silent and unnoticed. Her name was Selena Brooks. She was 24 years old, quiet, precise, eyes full of thoughts she never said aloud. If you passed her in that glittering dining hall, you might only notice her for her beauty-rich mahogany skin that caught the light like velvet, lips pressed into calm professionalism, hair tied back in a tight, unshowy bun. But you wouldn't know the truth. You wouldn't guess the story hiding in plain sight. Selena wasn't just a waitress. She was the daughter of Malcolm Brooks, the billionaire founder of the Brooks Empire, real estate mogul, hotel magnate, philanthropist. He owned Crystal Haven. He owned the very chair you sat on, the chandelier above your head, the wine in your glass. And yet, his only daughter chose to work there, in uniform, on the floor, among the invisible. She didn't do it for headlines or rebellion. She did it to learn to feel what it meant to serve, to exist beneath the gaze of power and be measured only by performance, no last names, no advantages, just who she was beneath the silk and gold. Only one person knew her secret, her father, and even he, reluctantly, stayed hidden in the shadows, watching from private lounges or anonymous tables, silent, respecting her choice, waiting, just in case. Selena never cut corners. She was the one who stayed late to help with cleanup, covered shifts when others called in, and memorized regular guests' preferences like it was sacred. She carried herself like someone who knew exactly what she was doing, even when the world thought she was just there to clear plates. That night, the dining hall was packed. Politicians, socialites, hedge fund heirsol, dressed like royalty, pretending not to judge. Selena moved among them like she was part of the furniture, and then, she walked toward table 9. The name on the seating chart made her stomach twist just slightly. Vanessa Kingsley, influencer, heiress, known for being cruel with a smile, and dismissive with diamonds. When Vanessa entered the room, the mood shifted. Her emerald dress shimmered like money. Her heels tapped like arrogance. And when she sat at table 9, it was like the rest of the room disappeared. Only she mattered now. Selena straightened her posture, adjusted her tray, and stepped forward. "Good evening, ma'am. Welcome to Crystal Haven. May I start you with something to drink?" Vanessa didn't look up. Not once. "Sparkling water. No ice," she said flatly, her fingers dancing across her phone. "Make it fast. I have better places to be." Selena's smile didn't falter. "Yes, ma'am." She turned and walked toward the bar. And yet, something about that moment, something about being spoken to like she was air-lingered. Not because it was the first time, but because even after everything, it still stung. Like a quiet slap to the soul. To Vanessa, she wasn't a person, just a uniform. Back at the station, Selena steadied her breath, picked up the glass. Condensation ran down the side. She balanced it on the silver tray with practiced grace and walked back toward the table. Vanessa still didn't look up. Selena gently set the glass beside her untouched cutlery. "Here you are, ma'am." But just as she stepped back, Vanessa, still staring at her phone, reached out and knocked the glass over. The water spilled like a silent explosion across the table, across the cloth, and down directly onto Selena's blouse. Gasps echoed. Someone's fork froze halfway to their mouth. Even the jazz faltered for a single beat. Vanessa finally looked up. Her icy blue eyes narrowed not in apology but in annoyance. "Oh, for God's sake," she snapped. "Can't you do anything right?" Selena stood there, soaked and stinging, but unmoved. Her face calm, her voice even. "I'm very sorry, ma'am. I'll bring you a fresh glass." But Vanessa wasn't done. She scoffed, flicked her hand, and said loud enough for nearby tables to hear, "Do they hire just anyone here? Honestly, this place has gone downhill." Some guests pretended not to hear, others didn't bother. One woman pulled out her phone. Selena bent down to dab the spill with a napkin. Not because she felt small, but because she refused to give Vanessa the one thing she craved most. A reaction. "I'll clean this up right away," she said. Vanessa laughed. A cold, cutting laugh. "Oh, how generous of you. On the house? Is it? Sweetheart, you don't belong in places like this. Maybe try fast food. That's more your level." The insult wasn't shouted, but it sliced deeper than any scream. Selena stood, chest damp, but spine straight. "Yes, ma'am, I'll have it replaced." Then turned quietly. And that's when it happened. Vanessa reached for her untouched glass of red wine and hurled it. The stemware shattered. The wine hit Selena's back like crimson fire. It soaked her shirt, dripped onto her apron, ran across the marble floor like a trail of humiliation. Vanessa cackled. "Maybe that'll teach you to watch where you're going," she said. But what she didn't know, what no one in that room could have guessed, was this. She had just thrown wine on the owner's daughter. And somewhere across the room, from behind a frosted glass partition, Malcolm Brooks set down his drink. His eyes were locked on Selina. And this time, he wasn't going to stay in the shadows. Selina didn't flinch. She didn't scream. She didn't curse. She didn't even turn around. She simply stood there for a moment, wine dripping down her back, her white blouse clinging like second skin, and 1,000 eyes pressing against her like heat. The room was utterly still. Vanessa, meanwhile, leaned back in her chair, triumphant. She crossed her legs like she had just closed a deal instead of humiliated another human being. Her friend at the table whispered something and burst into a giggle. And for the first time that evening, the room turned cold. It wasn't just about the spill anymore. It wasn't just a clumsy accident. It was a spectacle, a punishment, delivered in public, meant to strip Selina of her dignity while everyone watched. But Selina, she reached up slowly, peeled the damp fabric from her skin, and walked. Not fast, not defeated. She walked the way she always had, with grace. Through the hush of the dining hall, her soaked shoes leaving faint prints on marble, past the people who had ignored her all evening, who now couldn't look away, not because of pity, but because somehow, she still carried power. And in the far corner, Malcolm Brooks rose to his feet. The billionaire, the owner, the man behind the empire. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't storm out. He simply picked up his phone, pressed one button, and whispered a word that would change everything. Now. You. Back in the service area, Selina moved like a machine. She hung her soiled towel, picked up another, dabbed at her shirt. The red stains were stubborn, the sting of the wine less painful than the silence it had left behind. Jamal, her coworker, rushed in from the floor. His eyes were wide. "What the hell just happened?" he whispered. Selina didn't answer. She just exhaled, long, controlled, because rage was easy, shame was expected, but grace under fire? That took strength. From the corner, Chef Martin peeked out. "You all right?" "I'm fine," she said, though her blouse stuck to her ribs like ice. Her fingers trembled, but her voice didn't crack. "I just need a clean shirt." "You." Meanwhile, the air in the dining room was shifting. What once had been polite laughter and clinking glasses was now murmurs behind menus. People stared at Vanessa Somme in disbelief, others in disgust. A woman at table 3 shook her head and whispered to her husband, "She should be asked to leave." He nodded, tight-lipped. "It's disgraceful." Even the staff stood more still, silent, watching, and that's when the manager appeared. Daniel, sharp-suited and visibly tense, walked straight to Vanessa's table. "Miss Kingsley," he said, offering a tight-lipped smile, "Mr. Brooks would like a word with you." Vanessa blinked, only half listening. "Who?" "Malcolm Brooks," Daniel replied, "the owner of Crystal Haven." A pause. Something shifted in Vanessa's face. Her arrogance faltered just slightly as she smoothed her emerald dress and rose from her seat. Finally, she thought, someone who understood her value. She followed Daniel across the dining hall, completely unaware that half the guests were filming. Phones up, eyes wide. The story was no longer confined to whispers. It was going public. "You." Selina emerged from the back in a fresh blouse. She looked composed, but behind her eyes was a storm. She didn't need applause. She didn't want pity. But she did want clarity. A line had been crossed. A line she had long prepared herself for but hoped she would never see. She turned toward the main hall just in time to see Vanessa disappearing behind the frosted doors of the private lounge. And that's when Jamal leaned in, his voice low, charged. "He's confronting her." Selina blinked. "Not just confronting," Jamal added, "he's ending her." Inside the private lounge, Vanessa stood across from a man she had never met, but had always assumed would be on her side. Malcolm Brooks stood tall in a navy suit, his silver temples giving him an air of quiet command. His expression didn't shift, his eyes didn't blink, his presence didn't need volume. "Mr. Brooks," Vanessa purred, stepping forward with a polished smile, "thank you for—" "I watched it all," Malcolm interrupted, his voice calm. "From the moment you walked in." Vanessa's smile froze. "You insulted my staff, you mocked her, and then you threw wine at her in front of a room full of witnesses." Vanessa's jaw twitched. "She spilled." "She didn't," he said coldly. "You did." She swallowed hard. Her eyes darted to Daniel, searching for rescue. But there was none. Malcolm's next words were quiet, but they rang louder than thunder. "And that woman you threw wine on," he said, "she's my daughter. My teen." Back in the kitchen, Selina stopped moving. She felt the shift in the air, not outside, but inside her. A truth revealed. A silence broken. And the moment she'd tried to avoid, finally arriving not in chaos, but in clarity. Vanessa Kingsley froze. For a moment, she looked like her lungs had forgotten how to breathe. "Your daughter?" she stammered. "Wait, I didn't know she was?" "That," Malcolm Brooks said calmly, "shouldn't matter." He took a step closer, not aggressive, just final. "No one should be treated the way you treated her." Not a waitress, not a janitor, not a CEO, not anyone. Vanessa tried to recover. It was a misunderstanding. It was a choice, he cut in. You chose to dismiss her, to humiliate her. You saw a uniform, and you saw an opportunity to prove that you were untouchable. His voice never rose. It didn't have to. Every word was a scalpel. Vanessa's lips parted, then pressed shut. Her face, once smug and made up, now flushed not from shame, she wasn't used to that, but from exposure. And outside, the storm was already spreading. The video had gone live. My teen. In the dining room, phones buzzed. Whispers became murmurs. Murmurs became commentary. Screens lit up like stars across linen-draped tables. Some guests gasped. Others turned their phones around to show the clip. There it was, Vanessa's mocking voice, the splash of wine, Selena's composed walk. And now, Malcolm's words, "She's my daughter." One guest whispered, "She handled it better than I ever could." Another said, "She didn't even raise her voice." And across the city, across the country, the hashtags began. Number respect the staff. Number Crystal Haven truth. Number Selena Brooks. My teen. Back in the lounge, Malcolm gave a simple nod. Daniel, escort Miss Kingsley out. She is no longer welcome in any Brooks property. Ever. Vanessa blinked. You've been coming here for years. Malcolm's eyes didn't waver. And now you won't. She stared at him as if waiting for a joke, a rescue, a warning that never came. When it didn't, she grabbed her purse like it was armor, and muttered, "This isn't over." But it was. Daniel opened the door. And as Vanessa stepped out into the dining room, all eyes turned to her, not with envy, not even with disgust, just clarity. They had seen behind the curtain. Vanessa avoided every gaze. She never even saw Selena, standing just a few feet away, polished and poised in a clean blouse, tray balanced like nothing had happened, except everything had. As Vanessa walked past her, the heels that once clicked like a queen now sounded like retreat. No one clapped. No one cheered. It was quieter than judgment, it was dignity, reclaiming its place. My teen. Malcolm stepped out next. He didn't need to speak, but he did. To everyone dining here tonight, he said, his voice calm but unshakable, let it be known this hotel respects those who serve with grace. Titles do not matter. Behavior does. He turned. His eyes found Selena across the floor. And for the first time that evening, the mask cracked. He smiled. A proud, silent smile that said, "You did more than endure. You rose." Selena gave the faintest nod in return. She didn't move toward him. She didn't hug him. She didn't cry. Because this wasn't about being his daughter. It was about being herself. My teen. The crowd didn't cheer, but they felt it. Something important had just happened. Not a show. Not a scandal. A reckoning. My teen. Later that night, back in the staff hallway, Jamal approached Selena again. "She's gone," he said. Selena didn't look up from folding fresh napkins. "I know. Do you want a break?" Selena thought for a moment. "No," she said, steady. "I want to finish the shift." "You sure?" he asked, surprised. She gave him a small smile. "I wasn't here for them. I'm here for me." And that's when it became clear to everyone watching. Selena Brooks wasn't just the daughter of a billionaire. She was the woman who stood in silence, and still won. Not by yelling, not by fighting, but by refusing to bow. She didn't need to go viral to find her worth. But now that the world had seen her, maybe they'd begin to see others too. By morning, Crystal Haven's grand lobby had returned to its polished perfection, marble gleaming, staff in place, chandeliers lit like constellations. But beneath the surface, something had changed. It wasn't just the headlines. Though there were plenty of those. Heiress humiliates server, then learns she's the owner's daughter. Quiet grace goes viral, Selena Brooks and the wine toss heard around the world. Luxury has a new standard and, her name is Selena. No, what changed wasn't in the news. It was in the eyes of the people. The way guests now looked at staff. The way a server was no longer just a shadow moving between tables, but a human being with purpose, identity, dignity. That morning, Selena walked in through the back entrance like she always had. No entourage, no press. Just her. Same uniform. Same rhythm. But this time, as she passed through the hallway, a hush followed, not of avoidance, but of respect. In the break room, Jamal stood and handed her a coffee. "You sure you're okay?" he asked gently. Selena took a sip, nodded. "It's a new day." Across the city, Vanessa Kingsley's world unraveled. Her social media went dark. Brand endorsements disappeared. Her former assistant posted a Twitter thread titled, "This didn't surprise me," recounting years of microaggressions, verbal abuse, and entitled tantrums. It wasn't a fall from grace. It was a revelation of character. But Selena? She didn't watch it happen. She didn't scroll. She didn't post a caption or tweet a clapback. She didn't say, "I told you so." Because Selena had never been in it for revenge. She wasn't interested in punishing Vanessa. She was interested in choosing herself. Midday. A guest stopped her in the dining hall, a middle-aged woman visiting from Boston. "I saw the video," she whispered, reaching out gently. "And I just want you to know, my daughter saw it too, and she said, 'Mom, that's who I want to be when I grow up.'" Selena smiled. A real one. Not the trained smile of hospitality, but the kind that bloomed from the center of something whole. "Tell her," Selena replied softly. "She already is, if she knows what she's worth." Upstairs, in his corner office, Malcolm Brooks reviewed an official statement. It had already gone out to media outlets. "At Crystal Haven, dignity is not a privilege, it's a right. We stand by those who serve not beneath us but beside us." The words were his, but the conviction came from her. He turned to the security feed, watched as Selena refilled a guest's glass, listened, smiled, moved to the next. Same as always. But not the same at all. He picked up his phone, typed her a short message. "Still proud, always will be. Dinner tonight?" Her reply came 3 minutes later. "As long as I can wear my uniform." That evening, after the dinner rush had passed, Selena stepped out onto the staff balcony behind the service wing. The Miami sky was fading into colors only artists could name: copper, violet, coral, ink. She leaned against the railing. Not tired, not broken, just still. From behind, Malcolm approached quietly. "You really didn't have to come back so soon," he said. Selena looked out at the city lights. "Yes, I did," she replied. "Because if I didn't, that would have meant she won." Malcolm nodded slowly. "You could have quit, walked away, taken the name back. I'd have supported you." "I know," she said. "But this isn't about a name. It's about what I choose to do with it." She turned to face him. "I wanted to be seen as a person, not a profile." "And now?" he asked. "Now," she exhaled. "I just want to make sure the next girl in uniform doesn't have to prove herself at all." They stood in silence. Not awkward, but full. The kind of silence that only lives between two people who understand each other without explanation. Somewhere in the city, a news anchor read her name. Somewhere online, a hashtag carried her face. But in the quiet, Selena Brooks wasn't thinking about any of that. She was thinking about how every day, people are asked to shrink, to stay quiet, to absorb disrespect and smile through it. And how every once in a while, one person decides to stand tall anyway. Not with fists, but with grace, with stillness, with truth. And sometimes, that's the loudest thing in the room. Dignity doesn't come from wealth, titles, or applause. It comes from knowing who you are and choosing to be that person, even when the world tries to erase you. What about you? Have you ever stood your ground when no one else would? Let us know in the comments, because stories like Selena's start with people like you,